an interesting night, fun episode of the Herb and Raj podcast, but they're all fun. So what are you talking about?
Always.
We're gonna get it started here in 15 seconds. All right, waiting for our guest. And the worst part about him needing a few minutes before he gets here is it gives us a chance to quickly talk about Alabama basketball. And that's not something I was really wanting to do tonight.
I was hoping we could avoid that too. I only wanted us to discuss it had we been playing well, but we are currently losing by 17 to Florida, and we're getting killed. So
we're getting mollywopped. When we lose, we lose big too. We just like every team is going to try to hit 100 on us, And I mean, when you play that style, I understand it. You're going to be running up and down,
right.
But this is.
But I mean, I was hoping we could bounce back from the Tennessee game and somehow pull this victory out. But we're not looking good. We're not playing well tonight. It is
Tennessee game was at least close. It was a tough game. We didn't shoot well, but it was a good physical game, and it's against a team that might be a number 1 seed. So I'm like, okay, they came in our place, but let's say hello to everybody first. Happy Friday. Oh, and of course, if you're out there, please, bottom, what is it? Left of your right of your screen, you can click on the line. You can definitely subscribe, give us some likes, give some subscribes. Come in here, make your comments, whether you're on YouTube, Twitter. I don't know if Facebook's still down today or not, so I don't know if you're managing to listen to there. So, Kat, you were definitely missed last week. I hope you are feeling better.
Hope you're feeling better, Kat.
And good evening, as always, Lady Alpha. Of course, leave all your comments. Starting off with a little Alabama basketball before we get into our guest. I mean, so you look at the bracketology. We were as high as like a 3 seed, I think, when they released it weeks ago, right? We're at a 4 according to ESPN, and the little arrows pointing down, which I assume is not a good thing.
We're sliding down. I think we'll end up around a 6 seed, maybe a 6 seed, because keep in mind we have 1 regular season game left, and that Saturday morning we host Arkansas, a game we should win. And then the SEC tournament, which I want to say it starts next week.
Yes, it does.
I don't know. I just don't know how that's going to go, depending on the seeding and everything. I have no idea. But with the way we're playing, we went from being one of the top teams in the SEC, but right now we're playing like we're in the mid of the pack somewhere. So
So ESPN had a article out where they picked all the conference winners. So they had 4 or a panel of 4. 3 of them picked Tennessee. Do you know what the other pick was?
Yeah.
What
was it? Us?
No.
Auburn.
Oh. Unless the tournament is going to be played in Auburn, Auburn's not going to win the whole thing, which they could probably say the same thing about us. The other pick was Kentucky, which is an interesting thing. They're actually playing a little bit better defense these days.
I was about to say they have a good offensive team, and I think Rob Dillingham might be one of the best freshmen in the country. But defensively, they're not really consistent. So
we're not allowed to talk about stuff like that though.
Right. I mean, I would love to say Alabama as my pick, but right now I'm probably leaning towards Tennessee as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're playing. I mean, we even held Dalton Connect 4 down, and and they still want what? No, not time.
Connect 4 was
look, man. For the new audience, they're just gonna have to get used to the lame jokes. That's just part of the whole package. So
I mean, he was hitting on a lot of the shots before he got into foul trouble, so he was really connecting.
So you're going to give me the look on mine, but you're going to come back with one right away.
I was mad at you that you did it first. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I guess if he hits a 3-pointer, you can say connect 3.
He has to get fouled. So you can say connect 4.
Otherwise, what if he makes a 3 and gets fouled, and then he hits the and one? What is it called?
Then it's a connect 4. That's the only way it works. That is the only way that works. Otherwise, it's dead in the water. So. But what are you like? Honestly, what are you looking at from the team now with tournament wise? Like they're looking at let's say this bracket was real. You'd be in the Spokane, out in the East. Alabama playing UC Irving is their thing. Washington State, the way they have the bracket, it's not that bad. And then you get to Sweet 16, and you're up against like UConn. So
but I mean, right now, without looking at the bracket, we're playing like we can win a first round game,
right?
squeak by that one, but then we may get eliminated in the next round. And again, I know you mentioned teams like UC Irvine. At this point, it doesn't really matter who we play, especially it doesn't matter who anybody plays in March Madness. We saw what happened to Purdue last year. I mean, they went in with Zach Edey, Player of the Year, etc., lost in the first round. So I don't know. I just hope we get lucky. I really want us to make it at least to the third round, the field of the Sweet 16 actually. But I don't know. It just depends on what type of basketball we're playing, and it's not looking good right now.
What did I tell you? It kind of reminded me of the Phoenix Suns, huh?
Or are we overreacting?
I mean, I think because you lose 2 in a row, and then you look at the games that we have lost along the way, we haven't played particularly well, I guess, on the road, especially against better teams. When we lose big. And what did we something we were talking about off air, when you have all these 3-point shooters and stuff like that, it reminds me of the old Phoenix Suns. Whenever you need like an easy basket, you're not getting an easy basket.
You're not even thinking about it because what happens when you miss so many threes, you're now down by 10 to 15 points. So you're thinking the only way for us to get back into the game is by jacking up more threes and finally hitting. But by the time that happens, the game's over.
Yeah. So apparently, thank you. Not overreacting. It is. I mean, when the offense is flowing and we're hitting threes, yeah, we look great. And, a lot of people say they can beat any team in the country. Yeah. But today, Florida, I think, came up on the line and kind of forced us at other stuff. And it took a while for us to realize, maybe we should go get some layups, So,
Yep.
I don't know.
Grant Nelson is somewhat of like an anomaly. I mean, he's 6'11". You would think a guy that size, you don't have to be the best perimeter shooter. But when you're 6'11", you would think a guy would get you an easy 10 points a game.
Yeah.
The other day was Saturday against Tennessee. By accident, he fouled out with 3 points, and I'm like, "How is it you can only get 3 points and you're 6'11"? I don't get that. I would like to see more consistency on his end. I don't think we really have like a dominant big man. I understand this day in basketball, you don't need like a dominant big man, but it would definitely help us to have some sort of interior presence. Nick Pringle's there, but he gets into foul trouble a lot too. So we just have like a perimeter playing team, and it works. When it works, it looks good, and we're loving it, and we're blowing out teams. But when it's bad, it is ugly.
Yes. When he reminds me that only certain people will get this reference. We used to play with a guy named Face, who was probably like, I don't know, 6'7", 6'8", something like that. But when you're playing rec league ball, a guy 6'7", 6'8" looks like he's 6'11".
Yep.
Face would grab a rebound, dribble all the way back out to the 3-point line, turn around and shoot it, and you'd be like,
yeah.
I mean, if that's what you want to do, man, he would just not take a layup to save his life. It was just the craziest thing. So,
and whenever he dunked, didn't he always have some sort of saying, or didn't he always like talk a little trash when he dunked?
No, he didn't trash when he dunked, Raj. He always said money when he shot, but it was always 3.
Money, that's what it is. Yeah. I remember that.
You would never make any. The best thing for you when you're playing him is for him to make one early, because then he would just keep shooting it. So.
Yep.
Yeah, so just a couple of games, they scored 80.5. Yeah, I mean, when we're hitting, we have the best offense in the country, right? So when we're hitting, it's on. But what do we score? 90? Have we scored 90 and 100 in a game and lost? We scored 90 in a game, and lost badly.
We scored almost 100, I think, against Kentucky and lost. It was like 100 to 117. I forgot that score was, but we lost. I mean, but to your point, it's kind of like, if the 3 points there and it's a wide open shot, take it. Or if it's a good shot, take it. But don't stray away from driving to the hoop. You guys got some handles. You guys can get to the hoop. Some of you guys have some size. Go ahead and get it down low and get inside and get the easy too. It's okay.
Yeah,
we'll live.
Especially like Spears and Estrada, like those should be your guys to kind of lead that.
Yep.
There. So, and there's Tidal coming out there giving us a roll tide. So
shout out to Tidal. We appreciate it, man.
The love, yeah.
Always repping.
So online, you got a new shipment of Tidal towels in. So those are definitely a must-have. That's a couple of mine. We had someone, I guess, kind of cleaning, and they thought they were
like
rags, and they ripped them up.
Rags or something?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
To clean, yes. So I have a couple torn in half. So there's 2 theories for this. A, Auburn fans. B,
it gotta be.
Tidal did that just so I would order more. So I don't know. I'm not making any accusations.
That's actually pretty smart. Yeah.
Not making any accusations, but if
maybe the cleaners was like one of his relatives or something. They said, "All right, good job. We got 2 more. Yeah. That's 2 more right there that he has to order."
I mean,
very, very smart business tactics.
Yeah, so that's something we got to get into. So yeah, and see, there's already a vote. Title must have done it. So
yeah.
What do you think about Tennessee though? After kind of seeing them this past weekend up close, their chances in the tournament, and does it hurt you to say that they might be good?
Yes, it does. It hurts me to say good. I think we're looking at an Elite 8 team, possibly Final Four, depending how they're doing. And I did not realize how good Dalton Knecht was. I think he uses his size real well. He's a good shooter. And again, to our point earlier, he's somebody who could drive to the lane and get it easy too. He's got good handles. Tennessee, I think Tennessee's the real deal. And they put it on us the first game in Tennessee, and they even beat us in Tuscaloosa. So, I would say right now I'm looking at Elite 8. Of course, we'll do another March Madness breakdown once the brackets are finally distributed, and then we go crazy filling all these brackets like we do every year and calling each other, what do you think about this game? And then just to find out about 1 or 2 months later.
Bad so fast. Though.
I know. Because the thing about those is you have to find out which games you're going to take a risk on and say, okay, I don't think this is going to happen, but I have to take a risk here and pick this team that's probably not going to win. And what happens is that team ends up winning the game, and then your whole bracket is just ruined. So
I think the bigger excitement is definitely picking the teams, and then when they come into it, it's like my problem is I'm always sad before the first weekend's even over. I'm like I lose a Final Four team every first weekend. Regardless of how many I do, it's frustrating. So and here's your guess what, Raj? They low down. They dirty.
Yeah.
Still one of the best videos ever. So I don't think it'll ever change. Do you think can anybody ever surpass? Obviously Auburn's going to be number 1. Can anybody ever surpass your hatred for Tennessee though?
Well, you said Auburn's going to be number 1. I don't.
Auburn's our little brother. They always have to. For those of you who don't know, having a little brother can be really annoying at times, and he can really get on your nerves at times. And they're just kind of like, you have to try to love them and care for them, but sometimes you're just like, with your little brothers. So, I'm sorry, Rod, you were saying something? Go ahead.
No, please proceed. Please proceed so I can tell Mom.
Mom better be watching and listening. So, and if you're listening to one of our newer ones, you got any questions for us while we're still waiting on our guests, please throw them out there. Raj, I'm gonna leave you for 1 sec. All right. Talk about some.
Sounds good. Yeah. So Herb and I were recently just discussing Alabama basketball and I guess it's kind of interesting because prior to the season, we had pretty good hope for the program. Obviously, we had an excellent team last year with Brandon Miller and Noah Clowney, and those guys went to the draft. So we still had good hopes for this team, and we were at a point where we were number 1 in the SEC, playing really, really good basketball, especially offensively. I think we were the number 1 offensive ranked team in the country. Unfortunately, we lost our past 2 games, lost to Tennessee. We're actually still losing by 19 points to Florida right now. So that game's obviously over, and then we have to host Arkansas Saturday morning. So I don't know. We don't know where Alabama basketball is going to end up at. We are going to make the tournament, so calm down about that.
Yeah.
But I guess the seeding is going to be the number 1 question.
So your last quick comments, and we'll bring our guests in. Hatred for LSU surpasses. That'd be an interesting one.
I have a little dislike for LSU. I have a little dislike for LSU, but I mean, as far as hatred, I haven't reached the hatred aspect of it yet. So I don't know. What about you?
I'm gonna let our guests answer first. We'll start there, and then we'll go on. Okay. And
all right, sounds good.
So our guest for tonight, Raj.
All right.
Was on the named one of the top 5 most influential people in Alabama.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When Coach DB was hired and they flew out to meet him, this gentleman actually flew the plane for that first meeting.
Oh, wow. We got a pilot. Okay.
Yeah. And for the first spring practice, several people noticed that he was actually calling plays in practice. Both sides of the ball.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
awesome.
you have a star with you. So senior analyst for TD Alabama Magazine, Stephen M. Smith. Sir, how are you doing, sir?
Doing well, guys. Now, I will say this. I tried to fly the plane. They did not allow me to crash it, so thank God for that.
Okay. How many flight hours? How many flight hours did you have before you flew the plane, or was it just like all of a sudden last minute notice type thing?
To be honest, it was Nick Saban saying, "Dude, you're up. Get in there."
Okay, you got you. You gotta go. You gotta go.
With the GOAT calls you gotta go, huh?
Pretty much,
exactly,
man.
Exactly.
When Nick Saban announces the retirement, and then Greg Byrne looks at you and says, "Look, man, we got 3 days. Get on the plane now. We got 3 days.
Figure it out." Yes. Stephen, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me, man. This is fun. This is cool, man. Got to shout my guys at Title Towel recommended me for this. Yes. So I appreciate my guys. My man Thomas and Lavelle. Those guys, fantastic people.
Appreciate you.
So the question you came in on the tail end of there was we were talking about Tennessee and how good they are in the tournament, but Auburn's still always our number one hatred. Do you ever see a team surpassing your hatred for Tennessee as an Alabama fan?
Oh, that's a good one, Herb. But man, LSU is there. but with LSU, it's like a more so competitive, respectful hatred versus Tennessee, where it's just, God, I just hate them. With Tennessee, it's like, God, I hate them. With Auburn, it's like, I hate them, but they're like little brothers. So what can you really do?
Yeah. Right.
But then with LSU, it's like, I can't stand them, but at least they're somewhat competitive. So it's categories of hatred, I guess.
Right.
And that was somebody else's. That was what came up. Kat was one of our answers. She said, "Our hatred for LSU." That's where that good kind of came from. So we've already got the good Stephen Smith. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, Raj, you wanted to start us off?
Yes. Stephen, again, thanks for joining us in, and I guess we'll go ahead and jump on in. So, almost 2 months ago, January 10th, we're all sitting at work doing whatever we're doing, and then all of a sudden we get the news that the GOAT is officially retiring. We're all looking at our phones, jumping on social media, seeing what's going on. So what was your initial reaction to his retirement? Was it something that you did you foresee it coming? Did you expect it, or did you think maybe he was going to coach a few more years? How did you react, and how did things just kind of go from there?
Well, Herb, Raj, I'm going to tell you a story about my whole thing. I'm actually, I'm on the road driving down Skyland Boulevard. I'm trying to get my daughter some Chick-fil-A because that's the Lord's chicken, I guess. So I'm driving down to get me some Chick-fil-A, and we'll get my daughter some Chick-fil-A. And the information comes across the ticker of my phone, and I'm like, Nick Saban, you couldn't have at least texted me to give me the heads up. I'm like, Miss Terry, you couldn't have at least texted me to give me something. I'm sitting here at a red light in the midst of traffic at this Chick-fil-A. I got to pull over on the side of the road, fix my face up, prevent myself from crying. I got to do a whole video, Johnny on the spot for the people out there.
Mm-hmm.
That was rough, man. That was a rough,
Was the hair cut at that point, or did you have to wear a hat?
No, I had wild man hair going, forget the hat, because at this point I got to get myself into character. It was rough, man. Like, Saban could have at least told me something, because to me, even though I felt like we were nearing the end of the Saban era because of the fact that you kind of saw with NIL and the transfer portal, it was kind of starting to get to him. But you still kind of had the feeling of, okay, this 2023 team overachieved. Saban enjoyed coaching this bunch. So you kind of felt like maybe he still has 2 to 3 years left. Maybe, possibly.
Right.
But to get that threw me for a whole different loop, man. I'm like, Nick, you could have told your boy something, man.
This Randy, Georgia fan there. That's what he always says. No days off. You don't get a break in this business at all.
Yeah, you don't. And I guess that was my target number. I think Herb and I talked about it a while back, even before he retired. We're like, how much longer do you think he has? My target number was 75. He was 72. I said, you give him 3 more seasons, get at least 1 or 2 more national championships, and then he'll ride off into the sunset. So when Herb and I found out that was a very somber call to each other, just like, oh goodness. And then of course, next 2 days we're all, like I said, we're all staring at our phones trying to figure out what's the domino effect looking like? Who's going to be the next guy? Steven, who did you think was going to be the next coach?
Before I get this, Raj, you two talk about somber. I had an uncle call me nephew. I had to call you, man. You the only one that know. Please tell me this is a lie. Please tell me the GOAT didn't leave. Please tell me being Punk. I'm like, man, put the bottle down. It's true.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Why does he have to put the bottle down then if it's true?
Look, man. He was getting about the third, fourth bottle, Herb. I had to get him away.
Okay.
Man. I had to get him away.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I was at work and I was about to hit the local store on the way. On the way to a job.
I'm just saying, I got to keep Punk alive, man. I got to keep him alive, man. But the name I actually had, guys. The first name I had in my head was Steve Sarkisian. That was the first name I had. Like, I had Sark's name right there. And what was crazy, like the next day after Saban announced the retirement, so he announced it Wednesday, Thursday, he's back at work. And I'm like, what the world? I'm like, Nick, are you punking us, Nick? And then the fact that Jimmy Sexton's here, I'm like, oh God, the Godfather's here, Jimmy Sexton.
Yeah.
The moment I saw Jimmy in that briefcase walk in the building, I thought some contracts are about to happen, some oil wells are about to be dug, some stuff about to hit the fan. And the moment Jimmy Sexton walked in there, Texas go digging for oil well, pay Sark more money. I'm like, dog, Jimmy. I wanted Sarkisian. Now I can't get Sark.
Yeah.
So the next thing that hit my mind, well, Lane Kiffin, right? Saban loves Kiffin, respects Kiffin, resurrected his career. Maybe we get Kiffin back in here. When Kiffin said no, I was like, oh, Lord, here we go. So then I thought, okay, God. I'm like, God, well, just don't let it be somebody off the wall crazy. When Kalen DeBoer's name came up, I'm like, okay, let me research this guy. Right. So I researched Kalen DeBoer. I'm like, okay. He did turn Washington around because Washington was a train wreck before he got there. Right. He did turn Washington around. This is good. But I go back. He was at Fresno State. Okay. Let's go back and look at this. So I'm doing all of this research here. And then when I finally compile all the research, I'm like, okay, he's not the sexiest name in the world, but a record of 104-12. I can get down with that. He did win at every single program he was at. I can get down with that. So after having some motivational talks to myself, I was finally like, okay.
Were you in front of a mirror when all this is happening? Is this like a come on, self, we can do this, self?
Yeah, kind of. Like I was kind of in front of a mirror, like, okay, Steve, we can do this. Breathe. Inhale.
I felt like that one tear was getting ready to drop down his cheek.
like the one tear was, but I kind of had to suck it back into my face and like, okay, we can do this, bruh. We can do this. We've been covering this team for 10 plus years. We've seen worse. We can do this.
Yeah.
And where did the Dan Lanning ever enter your mind too? That one, because that was one that
I mean, he did from a defensive perspective, but then when I got the news that he never even came to Tuscaloosa, it was just chatter that he was here, but he never really, the plane never got to Tuscaloosa. That's when I knew, Dan was pranking us. Dan was pranking us.
That was the one thing that bothered me, Herbert and Steven, was the fact that I was going online and then people were like, yeah, Dan Lanning's here. And I was like, okay, he's not even here. And I didn't know what to believe or who to believe. I'm just looking at all these things on Twitter and I'm like, I have no idea what is factual and what's just not happening at all. But here we are. So
absolutely, man. Here we are, man. After Greg Byrne couldn't get sleep half the time to now Greg Byrne is getting sleep to now we're at spring practice.
Practice. Yeah.
Let me ask you this though. You did one particular thing you did mention in there that I was as one of my list of wacky questions. If they came to you and said, you got to choose our next coach and your only two choices are Sark and Kiffin, who would you have gone with?
I would have gone with Sark. And the only reason why Sark is just a mastermind when it comes to matchups, when what he did with that 2020 team COVID year and creating ways for Najee Harris, Slade Bolden, Devontae Smith, John Mechie, Jalen Waddle, Mac Jones, all of those guys to have success was phenomenal. You look at that year, Bama had 3 Heisman finalists? Yes, Devontae Smith
won 3 and 5. Yep.
Yeah. Yes, Devontae Smith ultimately won the trophy, and what a year incredible year he had. But the way Sark was able to manipulate this offense to where every defensive coach we played that year was out of its mind, frustrated, feared, angry because they did not know how to defend the Sark offense. So Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants,
people I think agree too.
And if anybody wants any insight into the 2020 season, just take some snippets from the national championship game that year when we were supposed to be playing a really competitive game against Ohio State, but it ends up being 52-24. Devontae Smith has 200 plus receiving yards in the first half. Didn't even play the second half. Just had a monster.
He played the second half just long enough to get hurt, like on his first play. So that was a crazy game. So
dude, that game was wild. If he doesn't hurt his finger in that first half, we're talking about maybe a 300-yard performance. I mean, if he doesn't hurt his and poor safety defensive back Shaun Wade. I mean, Smitty took that man from a first round to a 4th round grade in one game. Poor Shaun Wade.
Yeah. That was just, I mean, there was bad matchups all over the place. But like you said, Sark is the master at that. So no, I definitely like that answer. So so where were you going next? Well, you're with Coach DB. What was your first impression of him when you came in here?
My first impression is, man, he wants to be here. I remember, when he came off the plane, I think it was January 12th, which was that Friday. He came off the plane, and it almost had the same Saban effect when Saban came off the plane in 2007. Now, of course, that effect was different because when Saban came off the plane, I mean, you had women with posters saying, "Praise Jesus, God is good, we got Saban." You had women with them posters hanging up in the air. Now, it wasn't quite to that effect, but you still saw the Alabama fan base just all over Tuscaloosa Regional Airport. Very excited to have Coach KD in here. I got a chance to hear him speak the very next day, that Saturday, and just the emotion at the end where he talked about, look, there was only one place that I would have left Washington for, and that's right here. Right. And he talked about it. He talked about it. He wants this challenge. He values this challenge. He knows it's going to be hard. He knows it's going to be tough. He knows the expectations being here are through the roof because there's football and then there's Alabama football. And he gets it. Like the fans, they want conference championships. They want national championships. They want top-ranked recruiting classes. They want things that they can brag about 365 days a year. So he gets it. He knows it. He understands it. He knows the task that he is up against coming behind the greatest to ever do it in Nick Saban. But he wanted that. And you gotta respect the man that wants to come behind a legend and wants that challenge.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of expectations,
I agree with that, Ricky, yes.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out to Ricky. Appreciate you for joining us on too, man. Speaking of expectations, do you think that the Alabama fan base will be patient enough for DeBoer to reach these expectations? And I guess by me asking that is, how long do you think, and we're guessing here, before we can see a title from Coach DeBoer? I hope I'm not jumping the gun here. Just
wait. So before you get into the title, I know, but let's scale back just 1 second. What does he have to do to not get fired next year? What record do we have to get?
Okay, that's another question.
Look, I'll say this. I mean, in the year where we're having a 12-team playoff, first time having a 12-team playoff, I think 10-2, 11-1 is fantastic for your first year. 10-2, SEC champion, 11-1 SEC champion. Because if you look at the talent that's on this roster, the talent's still here. the talent is still more than capable of making a big run. You look at, you got 4 quarterbacks in your room, including the starter back in Jalen Milroe. You got 3 of your top 5 running backs back. You got a slew of wide receivers back. You have 3 offensive linemen back that got playing experience. Plus, you have a transfer in Parker Brassford at center who only gave up 1 sack and 940 snaps at Washington last year. You got a ton of guys on defense back. So your core pieces, a lot of your core guys, they're there. And you got talent right with those guys. Of the 23 guys you signed in this 2024 class, you only lost 2. And that's Jameer Grimsley and the quarterback, Julian Sands. So, I mean, for me here, but talent is there, for a national championship, but just in realistic terms, because the schedule is going to be tough, it is going to be a difficult schedule to navigate. I look at 10-2, 11-1.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning more towards the 10-2 side myself. I just based on the schedule alone, there's a couple of trap games in there that might be questionable, but yeah, I agree 1,000%. The talent's there. We got the guys are there, and to keep maintain that number 2 recruiting class after everything that's happened, that shows how good DeBoer is going to be while he's at Bama.
Yeah. Well, and I think he hit the ground running. I think that was one of the biggest things. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that man did not sleep for the first week because I think he was shaking hands with everyone possible. I mean, am I wrong? It didn't seem like that's what impressed me. One of the biggest things impressed me was I think he hit the ground running and going.
I mean, you think about DeBoer didn't sleep. Greg Byrne did not sleep, y'all. I mean, I looked at Greg Byrne the day of Kalen DeBoer's introductory press conference. Greg Byrne's eyes were bloodshot red. That man did not get any. When you talk about, he said, give us 3 days. He found the coach in 40 hours. Right. Like, Greg Byrne's eyes were so red. I'm like, bro, go home, Greg. Get you some sleep, son. Like, Greg tired. So Greg was tired. Yeah. DeBoer hasn't slept since he's gotten here in terms of a juggling act with getting the staff in here, trying to keep core players on the team, trying to keep recruits that you just signed in here. Now he's out there going to these local high schools in the Alabama area and other areas across the Southeast, re-offering guys, trying to reestablish those relationships with guys who had recently decommitted due to Nick Saban retiring. Nobody has slept.
It's amazing to me, like, that you have to recruit your own players these days, but that's like a whole other subject. So exactly. You got some particular questions in here we'll throw out while we're in there. So start with this one and go into the other ones. I'm only starting with this one because Rod just nicknamed him the Germinator. So have you seen anything about how is he adjusting or how he's doing and what's going on?
Jeremy Bernard is a dog. I'm talking about as a blocker, he's a straight dog. Jamarcus Shepard, who coached him at Washington, of course, now he gets to coach him at Alabama, talked about it. This dude will crack back block you. He will block you. He will spring running backs free. He'll spring receivers free. The guy can do a little bit of everything. He can catch the football. He can go in motion. He can be on special teams. He did this in Michigan State before coming to Washington, now at Alabama. He's basically replacing what you lost in Isaiah Bond. Jeremy Bernard is basically replacing what you lost in Isaiah Bond. That kid can play. I mean, tough as nails, physical, will go in the middle of the field, will do the dirty work for you, can catch the ball, can make plays, can be explosive when called upon. Really like that kid.
Yeah. What are the chances that the Germinator sticks as a nickname, though?
Ooh-wee, man. It
was coined here first. So
I'll say this. It'll come down to, does he keep some Purell on him at all times?
Oh, Lord.
If he keeps some Purell on him at all times, then that thing will stick.
That's an interesting little NIL deal right there, huh?
You know what, Raj? If we can get the agency on that, give them a bottle of Purell, we can get that going.
Hey, we got some things in the work. You guys heard it here first.
I like this comment back to back with this one. Want to see how we do against Georgia, along with the panel ranked the top 5 programs in the new SEC heading to 2024.
So that game against Georgia, week 4, I think coming off a bye. You got two bye weeks this season. So that week 4.
That's a really early bye. I'm just not used to that at all.
It's a very early bye, and you got Kirby Smart, you got Glenn Schumann, you got Travaris Robinson coming back into Tuscaloosa for the first time since the COVID year 2020. That game will dictate the season. That game will dictate the season. If Alabama goes out there and just hammers Georgia, this team can really run the table. I mean, now, if it goes out there and beats Georgia by field goal or by 7 points, it still can run the table. It's still a win. But if that team goes out there and just embarrasses Kirby Smart, then look out when you look at this team because Georgia's got dudes returning also. You got the quarterback, Carson Beck's coming back. They got weapons there on both sides of the ball. Of course, the big question is how do you replace Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey? How you replace those guys? But if you're able to go out there, you're Bama, and you manhandle Georgia, that's going to play a big role in this team around the table. That game will be the tale of the whole tape.
Yeah. I like that, but I also kind of like with the way the playoffs are this year that it's not, it's an early game. It does kind of tell you where you're at, win or lose, but it's not like the season ender that it almost used to be.
Yeah. I mean, the 12 team playoff gives you a lot of grace in terms of they're trying to create so much parity in college football. They're trying to get more teams in, right? Because they're tired of hearing people complain, well, we won our conference, we should get in here, and we didn't lose anything. They're trying to get more and more teams in. So the college football playoff committee is saying, okay, people, shut up. We're going to get your team in and your team. It's kind of like Oprah. You get a car, you get a car. They're trying to give everybody a shot in here. Yeah. So that's where that grace comes in. So you're allowing teams that may have a 1-loss or a 2-loss, and we could maybe even see a 3-loss team in the playoff.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy to me that we're just now getting into the 12, and now they're already looking at 14 or 16. I'm like,
I was just about.
How soon before everybody gets it? Yeah. What do you think about it, Rod?
I mean, I was about to say that too. If they're already thinking about a 14-team playoff, you can only see it expanding over a certain amount of years. Every 3 or 4 years, it seems like it's going to keep on expanding, and eventually we're going to get to a position where we have like a March Madness type of college football atmosphere, which I don't particularly like. I mean, with the expanding to 12 teams, I guess I could deal with that. But even with 12 teams, the teams that are going to be 13, 14, and maybe 15, they're going to have a case, and they're going to make their case. Oh, well, how come we didn't get in? Blah blah blah. If you couldn't be in the top 12, you didn't make it. Sorry, you didn't do what it took. You lost too many games, whatever the case may be. So we'll see what happens at 12. And just talking about the Alabama football team, I think there's we're going to be in one of these top 12. It's just going to depend on what our seeding is going to be, depending on how the season goes. So I'm excited for it. Interested to see how the playing goes. I think for right now, what is it? The top 4 teams have byes, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. Top 4 teams that win and they'll be your 4 conference winners, and they'll win. Right. They'll get byes. So that means like Notre Dame can't get a bye.
Right.
Like your 5th team is actually
that's gonna burn them up.
Yeah.
Yep. They can have a really, really good season. You could still be, and the best they can be is what, 5?
Yep.
Oh
if
man.
That. Yeah.
I can just see touchdown Jesus now. Ooh, they're gonna be ticked.
Yeah.
Ooh, they're gonna be ticked.
To answer the specific question, though, I would think Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, LSU, I guess, would be my 5th. But I feel like that's your top 5.
I think for me, it was going to be those 4. I don't know about Tennessee because I didn't get to watch Nico play in the bowl game against Iowa. I think Tennessee won like 35-0. I didn't get to see him play at all. I don't.
Raj, nobody was watching Tennessee.
That 5th team, guys, is going to be so interesting because of.
And saying that though, I'm hoping that we're one of these top 4.
Right. I mean, obviously, Bama's one of those top 4 teams in the SEC, no question. But that 5th spot there, it's like, as much as you want to finally see can Texas A&M really do it because of all the talent down there, you got Mike Elko. I look at the year Missouri had last year.
Forgot Missouri.
Yeah.
And what Eli Drinkwitz and Kirby Moore are doing over there, can Missouri leap its way in here?
I'd have to dive into
the
their
fifth
schedule.
spot I would think is up for grabs, but I just don't see them leapfrogging. Like, to me, your favorites have to be based off the last year. It has to be like Georgia, Texas, I would think.
Right.
And Alabama has that spot. Ole Miss, it just depends on how you feel about what they've done, continue to do.
Look, Ole Miss, you just have to look at, can Pete Golding call defense for real? Can Pete Golding really call defense for real? Like, you have to look like Petey. Like, can Pistol Pete call defense for real? That's what you got to look at there for Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm. He's actually saying overall program, not how they'll finish. I mean, it's still similar. Georgia, Texas, Alabama are still three of your best jobs and best programs overall, period. LSU has just seemed to have been, they did have the Heisman Trophy winner, but the defense, it just kind of like, I don't know where that program is at sometimes. It's like Brian Kelly kind of overachieved his first year, underachieved the second year. So
is it safe
I think they're still one of the top programs. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is it safe to say that OU will not factor into these top five? I know they got Jackson Arnold coming in.
As a program or as they finish, I don't think they're top five right now. So
I agree.
I think that they're overshadowed with Texas, and I think Texas is the bigger program for sure coming in. So you had a couple. I think that we missed a couple more. So it just means more. Yeah, I think this goes along with one of Ricky's. What happened if the SEC has 4 teams in the playoff? I mean, you see they're negotiating to get 3 guaranteed spots right now.
Right.
So
that's a huge possibility. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not that far away. So that's crazy. So this is about the Germinator. We need the offense like that last year. Yeah. So speaking of the offense, were you surprised at all that Simpson stayed and Lonergan stayed as well? And then they also brought in Mack. Like, what's your feelings on the quarterback room?
Well, I wasn't surprised. I knew that Eli Holsting was going to go.
Right.
I knew that Tyler Buckner was going to go.
Who?
Tyler Buckner from the guy from Notre Dame.
Yeah. The name escapes me.
I knew both of those were going to go, but I kind of felt like Simpson would stay.
Right.
He wants to give himself one more shot to try at this job, and I knew Lonergan was going to stay because last spring, people were talking about Dylan Lonergan's got the most lively arm on the team.
Yeah.
I mean,
he looked the best in the spring game.
He really did. He was a guy that played not only at a powerhouse high school, Brookwood High in Georgia, but he was also a pitcher, like a pitcher. Like the guy can process information incredibly fast. The only reason why he didn't play much last year is because of classification. That's the only reason why he didn't play much last year. But and then Austin Mack, the reason why he was brought in, of course, he knows the system. He understands that the whole moniker of DeBoer and Nick Sheridan, Jamarcus Shepard. If Michael Penix Jr. would have had any type of injury last year, of course, we all know that Mack would have been the starting quarterback, the next man up. The guy's 6'6", 226 pounds. We just saw the NFL Combine. And so Austin Mack would check off all the boxes, and of course the Underwear Olympics when you look at size and things of that nature. So I was not surprised with how the quarterback room has kind of meshed together right now. What's going to be interesting is how much of a push will each guy make. For Jalen Milroe, it's for him those 10 to 15-yard throws into either side of the boundary, and his decision making upon getting the football and making those reads, how much of a jump can he make in that in spring practice? Because if he can make that jump, then he's the guy, and he can find himself in New York for the Heisman Trophy if he can make that jump. If he cannot make that jump, then you look at Mack, Simpson, Lonergan. Which one of those three can make that jump within this offense? Because this will be an offense based off timing, execution, accuracy, movement. There's a lot of precision here in this offense.
Yeah. And that's why I think Simpson, I thought it was very telling that Simpson stayed because I think he honestly thinks he's got a shot at it. And when I say thanks, I honestly have no idea. I'm not that close to it, but I feel like he thinks he can. And I also had a little theory, like in the spring game. I feel like he was running more just to show you that he's got a little bit of wheels. He's like, I'm not, like Milroe fast, but I am still mobile enough to make this work as well. So,
I'll say this. You guys remember 2015 with Jacob Coker? And Coker just had to show us like he's got some ability, and he trucked that defensive back over for Texas A&M, and the whole place just went nuts. It's kind of like that with Ty Simpson. He's got crazy legs.
Right.
He's got some athleticism to his game, but I think he's more so of the pure passer. He wants to sit back in that pocket and carve you up like a surgeon throwing the football. But if it comes to being athletic and showing that he's got some crazy leg movement, he can show you that.
Yeah.
You got another question. And I'm sorry, I'm missing a lot of the comments that are coming in here. So we did have Cat talking about Missouri being a sleeper. So there.
Yeah.
We
went over.
Title, good buddy over there talking about NIL over there for sure.
So you got some people. So you got some people who don't think I'm off base and crazy about Missouri. Okay.
No, I just forgot about him. That's on me to say it. So for sure.
And they just won their bowl game. They beat Ohio State in their bowl game, so that was a good way to kind of close out their season too.
Yeah. I think they've got some good momentum going. So
Can
Kiffin stop? And that's why I always think that Kiffin would never make it. Like I don't think Alabama would ever take him as coach. It's stuff like that right there. And then there's a whole thread of everyone disagrees with Kiffin being able to stop going for it on fourth down, which will just end up being his downfall to me in the key game.
With Kiffin, he's his own kryptonite sometimes. I mean, I go back to, I think it was the 2021 or 2022 game against Alabama where he said, "Get your popcorn ready."
Yeah.
And he threw the headset against the screen like Kiff, like no. And then he went for it on fourth down like 10 times. I'm like, Kiff, like you killing your own self, man.
Yeah. I think only the first one was justifiable because he'd driven all the way down there. So that was like 50-50. And then after he started, it was like, now we're going forward in our own territory and just putting us in bad positions. And the game got away.
Okay, so before we continue, can we ask ourselves this question? And I'm not just trying to go completely in left field here. I just got this thought. Is Kiffin becoming the young Les Miles? Like, can we ask ourselves that question?
Now, if they win a title there somehow, all will be forgiven.
But
because Les Miles was crazy, but he at least got a couple.
So, he did get a
title.
He did get a couple.
So,
but
you have to. There's a thin line between genius and crazy, and it's like and it's when you win that title, you jump over the line. So
but is this the year for Ole Miss to win the title? I guess what I'm saying is if they don't win it this year, is there a chance that it might happen somewhere in the future? I'm assuming Jackson Dart leaves after this year, and I don't know who they have on the radar to eventually replace him as far as recruiting is concerned.
To me,
okay. So with Kiffin, he made a killing in the transfer portal this time around, and that was good for him. But for Ole Miss, I go back to that defense, man.
Yeah,
you can score if you can't stop a nosebleed. It doesn't matter how many points you score, and that defense can't stop a cold. I'm sorry that defense cannot stop a sneeze. Achoo! It can't stop a sneeze. So that's on Pistol Pete right there. Pete go. They got to stop somebody.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Perfect example being their game with LSU last year. What is the score? Like 55-49, something to that nature.
Yeah, I think like 52-49.
And then y'all keep in mind losing Quinshon Judkins hurt.
Yeah.
That was an interesting one to me. Not necessarily where he went to, but just the fact that he left in the first place.
Right.
Okay, so the backstory behind that is I don't know how much NIL collective that Ole Miss has. That's way above my pay grade at this point. But apparently they didn't have the biggest NIL collective for Quinshon Judkins because he was looking for more money. And the fact that they didn't, he decided to test the waters, which is the reason why he's at Ohio State. Which, by the way, how in the world did Ohio State boost up their collective? The fact that they got Caleb Downs and Quinshon Judkins as fast as they did. I know the NCAA drags their foot on a lot of stuff, but can y'all please investigate how fast Ohio State got that NIL collective up? Because
I'm gonna tell you how fast they got it up to. You lose to Michigan about 3 years in a row, and you go,
yeah.
Like let Auburn 3 years in a row, and all of a sudden you gonna have $1 billion over there to buy anybody you want.
You know what? You know
they had a nice little sit down with Ryan Day. Say, look, how much is it gonna take? What do we need to do? I said, okay, well,
you know what, Herb, Raj, I stand corrected. Good point.
You did have a good one in here. RB1 and QB1 this season, who's going to be the starters there. And you did already have one answer for it, Haynes, Miller, and Milroe. That's what, to an outsider, that's what I think. What is your feel on that situation?
My feeling on that, as far as running back one, I think you got a really good 1-2 punch there. I think you got a good 1A and 1B with Haynes and Jam Miller. I mean, they both bring you something different. Justice Haynes kind of reminds me of a little bit of Najee Harris. He's got some Najee Harris athleticism. He's got some Bo Scarborough type power. We saw that in the Rose Bowl against Michigan. We were wondering why in the world did Tommy Rees take the ball, out of his hands, but he did that anyway. But we saw that with Justice Haynes, and then with Jam Miller, he's kind of got a bit of Josh Jacobs. He's got some Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake in him, where you see the speed.
I was gonna say a little bit more burst. It seems like maybe Josh Jacobs for sure.
But the Josh Jacobs is the pinball ability. It's very hard to kind of bring Jam Miller down. So I think both of those two will be your 1A and your 1B. But then you can also you'll mix in some Richard Young in there too. He'll be sprinkled in there due to his skill set as well. And so at quarterback, yes, Jalen Milroe right now is looking like QB1. The immediate backup behind him, it could be Ty Simpson, but keep your eyes on Dylan Larnigan. I think that kid's going to push a lot.
Yeah, I like Larnigan.
Larnigan's going to push a lot. They're all going to push, but I think Larnigan's going to push a lot.
Yeah, I like what I've seen in him, sir. So, and these are when losing Judkins, it definitely did hurt. Yeah, the Ryan Day been out there. Yep, definitely. So, and the Michigan thing, coupled with them winning a title, I definitely think that pushed them as well. So, and this was, I think, is Reese, but Reese. Do you feel like Tommy Reese got too much blame for last year, or appropriate amount of blame? Like, what's your feeling on him? And I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a situation where we brought in all new people and nobody even said what happened to the outgoing guy. Like he wasn't, like you look at what Eric Bieniemy in the Washington situation. Everybody's talking about, they're not keeping him. It was a big thing. Reeves just kind of faded into the background and nobody said a word about it.
To me, Tommy did some good things. Tommy did a lot of good things, especially when he and Milroe got on the same page there.
Right.
Yes, there were still some moments when we looked at Reese and we asked ourselves, why is Kendrick Law not being used more? Why aren't there certain players not being used more offensively? But I think Bama fans were more so upset with the offensive line than Tommy Reese more than anything. You had fans more upset with Seth McLaughlin not snapping the ball properly than anything. I mean, you had fans, more upset with the offensive line not picking up blocking assignments more than anything. So I don't think a lot of people blame Tommy Reese. I don't think a lot of people hate Tommy Reese at all. I think it's just one of those situations where when Saban announced his retirement, Tommy Reese knew the guy coming in is not going to want to keep me around. Right. So he goes to the Cleveland Browns. So I didn't think this was anything that Tommy was just awful in. I think he really helped Jalen out a lot. I just think it was just one of those things where, Nick Saban's retiring. It's the end of an era. It's a change of the guard. Whoever the new guy is going to want his whole offensive staff, especially if he's an offensive coach. And so herein lies Kalen DeBoer, who's an offensive coach. He's going to want his staff. So Tommy, you have to go somewhere else.
Yeah. And so my personal theory on the whole Reese situation was I think he brought in Buckner. He wanted Buckner. Buckner got a shot. It was terrible. Then he realized, okay, I got to make this Milroe thing work. And I feel like things improved from that point on. But I think up until that point, it just feels like he had his heart was set on Buckner.
Yeah, that I'm just gonna say this, that South Florida game with the monsoon of rain and the awful camera angle ESPN gave us that day. I'm just like, why is Tyler Buchner here?
Yeah.
I'm literally watching him, and I'm like, Nick, Ty Simpson's on the sideline there.
Right.
We just, Dylan Larnigan's right there. I mean, for crying out loud, throw Eli Holstein out there. Somebody other than this. Somebody other than this. And
so we have one of our good friends.
Yes.
Who was a Buckner fan. Yes. Up until that game, he actually came on and apologized to everyone after that.
Yeah.
And about Reeves, I'd forgotten until you mentioned that too. That Reeves ended up in Cleveland.
Yeah, he's a tight ends coach at Cleveland now. Yep.
I would, but in all seriousness, though, I wish the best for Tommy. I wish the best for Tommy. I mean, he came in here, helped Alabama get an SEC championship. Had some good moments with Tommy. It was not all his fault. I mean, it was not all his fault. Like I said, a lot of people looked at the offensive line way more than what they looked at Tommy Rees. So for that dude, Tommy, if you're listening, Tommy, go up there, kick tail at Dog Pound. Please make Cleveland continue to go in the right direction, Tommy.
That's him. Yeah, I think that's when they kind of mind melded together, was against LSU for sure, and he definitely helped Jalen. So, what's your personal feeling? Does Jalen take that next step this coming year?
I think he does, guys, just due to he's got all of the offensive mind geniuses around him. You got Kalen DeBoer, who's an offensive mind. I think he played quarterback in high school and college. You got Nick Sheridan, who was a quarterback at Michigan and, quarterback coach and offensive coordinator now. You got guys like Jamarcus Shepard, who was an offensive coordinator at Purdue, played wide receiver in college, one of the best wide receiver coaches out there. Then you got Brian Ellis, who you brought over from Georgia Southern. He was a quarterback at UAB, 2007 to 2011. Then you got, what's his name, Mitch Dalen, who's on staff as an offensive analyst. He played quarterback too. So you got all of these quarterbacks in one room on one team that you can pull from to help you be better and to make you be better. So I think Jalen Milroe takes that jump. If he can improve on just certain aspects of his game, and then not to mention, keep in mind, Jalen Milroe earned his degree this past year. Yep. So now all of his focus is solely on football. He doesn't have to worry about school because he's already got his degree.
Yeah, Agreed. That's what Kat said. He's got all day for football now. So, and rumor that Buchner shook off the dust for his lacrosse gear. Yeah, he's like, done with this whole sport. So,
I got it. Quick question, right quick. Oh, go ahead, Herb.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Good question. One guy we have not really talked about so far tonight is Ryan Williams. What have you been hearing about Ryan Williams? Anything that we may not know? What do you think his future is going to be like here at Alabama?
And what cool nickname can Raj give him?
This guy is a dude. People throw this term around. People throw this term around loosely. Generational talent. Ryan Williams is truly that word. He is truly a generational talent. When you go two-time Mr. Football in the state, keep in mind, the last big-time product at wide receiver, player, period, to come from this state of Alabama was Julio Jones in 2008. Ryan Williams is the first player since Julio to come out of the state, number one in this state, and arguably one of the best in the country. Ryan Williams put on an absolute show in the Class 6A state championship against now his teammate Jalen Mbakwe. That Saraland Clay Chalkfield game was one for the ages. Both of those two was a fire show. Ryan Williams in that game set a Class 6A record and a Super 7 record for catches and receiving yards in that game. That dude went off. When you watch him play, there's a little bit of Julio. There's a little bit of Jameson Williams. There's a little bit of Devontae Smith. There's a little bit of Henry Ruggs. That kid's a baller. Kid's a flat-out baller. And the fact that he reclassified to come out this year, and he still had a year. This kid's 17, and he comes out. man.
I want to say he just turned 17 too. Like this kid is young.
He just turned 17.
Yeah.
Think about that. The moment this kid gets on campus in the summer, if he's breaking people's necks, he's wide receiver 1. Put that count field. Like I watched a good bit of Sarah Lynn High School this past season, the last 2 years. This kid, if he gets himself around the right veterans on this team and being coached by Jamarcus Shepard, this kid's the real deal.
You've got somebody else we're looking for. Mike, those looking from Mbakwe to come out there too as well. He wants, to see him ball out as well.
I'll say this about Mbakwe. Mbakwe's got a chance to possibly start at one of these 2 corner spots. He's got a chance. Here's why. So one of your corners is more than likely going to be Damani Jackson, the transfer from USC. The other corner is where the fun fight's going to happen. Because Jaleel Hurley, the young man from Florence High School, North Alabama, he's the only scholarship holdover from 2023 in terms of corners. So after Hurley, here comes all the young guns. When you're talking Mbakwe, Xavier Mincy, Xavier Brown, Dre Kirkpatrick Jr., here comes all of the young guns here. Jalen Mbakwe's got a real shot at this. Now, I understand he has not been just a full, true corner. He did everything but sell hot dogs and beer at Clay Chalkfield. He played quarterback, wide receiver, return specialist, DB, played it all. Now he's got a shot here to be just a solid DB, but a very explosive young man, a very explosive athlete. He's got a shot this spring.
Definitely looking forward to it. So our Georgia fan says he's waiting to see Ryan Williams against that dog secondary. So I don't know if he's low key trying to say something or is that's an honest question either way. So
both. I think it's an honest question, and I think he's trying to slide that in there like, oh, the dog. Excuse me, the dog secondary. So it is what it is. I'm excited to see it too. So I can't wait.
Yeah. Who do you think they go with at safety?
Look, so when Ricky threw his question up here, I got real excited. I don't know why, but I just got really excited. So at safety here, this is going to be fun also because you bring over Keon Sabb from Michigan. And so Keon Sabb can either be a safety for you or he can be a corner for you. He can play both. Now, if you have Keon Sabb at safety, then your 2 safeties will be Sabb and Devontae Smith. However, if you choose, and this is on Kane Womack, this is on Coach Maurice Linguist, who will work it with corners. If Coach Mo and Coach Kane, if they choose to move Keon Sabb to corner, then that opens Tony Mitchell at safety. So it all comes down to who do you choose? What do you choose to do with Keon Sabb? Do you leave him at safety? Do you move him to corner? Because that piece determines where does Tony Mitchell go.
Right. And somebody had asked about Sabb earlier, and I totally missed that one, but somebody was on top of that one early. So, there we go.
It was a little higher up in the it was a while back, but yeah.
All right, so we're getting right up into the end there. And I know fathers of twins are probably have things that they've got to get to here in a minute. So we're gonna put you through the ringer real quick with the questions of death before they let you go.
Here we go.
Excuse me. Do you want to start, Rod? Do you want me to start with it? What do you want?
You go ahead.
Okay. All right. The first one is a little game we like to play: work, play, live. Okay. We're gonna give you 3 names, and you have to name which person you would like to work with 40 hours a week, which person you'd like to live next door. This is your next door neighbor. You know, the person tells you to keep your lawn clean, trimmed and all that kind of stuff. And then play the person you'd like to go out with Friday night and have a good time.
Okay.
All right. Marvin Constant, Steve Brown, the star of the show, or Justin Riley, the host of the show.
All right. So I will work with Justin Riley. I will play with Steve Brown. And I guess
because he's the star of the show, you got to go out with Steve Brown, right?
He'll make you laugh too.
And then I would like to live with Marvin Constant just to get his workouts down.
Yeah, Marvin Constant is an absolute monster.
Oh, by the way, he said it was an honest question. I actually heard on Randy's show where he said he thinks Georgia's offense will be ahead of their defense to start out the year. So that'll be interesting. All right, Roger, what you got next?
All right, so let's go back to January 10th. Let's just say Burn and some other people come to you and you get that text you wanted. You say, hey, Saban's about to retire. Stephen M. Smith, we need to know who's going to be the head coach, and we're asking you to find the head coach. Out of these former 4 Bama Heisman Trophy winners, who would you want to be the next head coach? Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, Devontae Smith, Bryce Young. Who would you want to coach Bama?
Ooh, Lord. You know what?
I think they all have the pros and cons. So we'll see.
They all have their pros and cons, but give me Mark Ingram from the business side of it.
Okay.
Give me Mark Ingram from the business side of it. He will represent Alabama. He will go out there in those high schools and recruit that. He will bring that energy. He will bring.
Are you guys reading the same?
He will bring that passion. He will bring that passion to these high schools. Like no slight to Derek or Devontae Smith or Bryce Young, but I feel like if Mark Ingram came to my high school to recruit me, I'll be ready to play.
No.
Oh yeah,
I got it. I like it.
I agree.
All right. This is a question, and it involves Nick Saban era players. Okay. We're down in the championship game by 4. We're on the 4-yard line. We have 1 play left. Okay. From Nick Saban era players, times run out. They called a penalty. We got 1 snap from the 4. This is for the whole game. Give me 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, and your 4th player can either be a wide receiver or a tight end, whatever position you deem necessary.
Okay, so 4 offensive players from 1 play.
Yeah, but I'm saying you're snapping, and this is like, all right, you need the players who you think are going to get you a touchdown on this play.
All right.
If we don't get a touchdown, we lose the national championship. Where our hearts are broken. We all take up pickleball instead of college football anymore.
All right, so my quarterback's gonna be Tua.
Really?
Yeah, quarterback's gonna be Tua.
Don't do that, Raj.
Running back.
That's my guy.
Running back's gonna be Derrick Henry. Wide receiver is going to be Devontae Smith. And I'll have a tight end. My tight end's gonna be OJ.
Big Howard. I felt like that was coming like that. So,
yeah.
Mine was always different, just because Tua, I always felt like if it's an open field, but I didn't like Tua in short situations as much. But Roger's a Dolphins fan also, so he's loving the whole Tua thing.
I've been a Miami Dolphins fan since the late '80s when we lived in Florida for a few years. So that's my team, and it just so happens that Tua got drafted there. So that's who I'm going to be biased for. So,
all right, Roger, you got it.
Last one. So let's just say someone comes to you and they want to do a biopic of your life, or even a movie, whatever you want to call it. Which Hollywood actor would you want to play you in a story about your life?
Oh man, I can't play myself, man, dog.
Because you got to sit and direct it.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be there coaching him as far as his mannerisms and making sure that the actor's doing it right. They're gonna get accurate.
Because I got compared to this guy so much as a kid. Give me Taj Mowry.
Oh wow! I did not expect that one. Okay.
Taj Mowry from Smart Guy. I got compared to him so much. Give me him. My second option was going to be Tyler James Williams, but give me Taj Mowry.
Okay.
Ricky like you for Forrest Whitaker. So, all right. Actual last question. We're gonna let you wrap up and go here. Okay.
Okay.
Alabama makes a national championship game this year. All right. You have 2 tickets. Okay, on the 50-yard line. All right. You have to take one person from this list. Okay.
Okay.
Herb or Raj?
Really? Oh man, this is awful.
What's it gonna be?
This is just awful. God, give me Herb, man.
Oh no! Oh.
I'm sorry, Raj. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I got some work to do.
Didn't expect that one, huh?
No, it's all good. It's all good.
All right. The last of your questions, real good. The last of your comments, Bryce. That's what I thought would have been a good answer to. Bryce always seems like a really smart guy.
That's cerebral. Yeah.
And great line saying, Ricky was on board with yours. So this was about Mark Ingram. Yep. Plus he's retired, so that would be great for him. I think they had Derrick Henry in the running back, Julio, of course Howard, like you said, factored into that one as well. So, and somebody gave you Omar Epps. So,
okay.
Yep. You got a good laugh in there. Of course, Title, appreciate you for putting this together. All the people don't know, Title's the one who actually made this happen, man. So appreciate that. You see the Title towels on display. So definitely have to get a couple more of those out there. So appreciate Stephen, definitely appreciate you, man. I don't know if you saw the comment earlier about somebody saying the other Stephen A. Smith, I guess, represents their hometown, but you're much more pleasant to listen to. So that was from our good friend, Mr. U.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So Raj, but now Randy's picked Raj 2-0, so Raj is not definitely on a bus. So we'll get the rest out. So do you want to tell? I mean, obviously everybody knows, I guess, where to find you, but anything that you're either working on or coming up that you want to talk about real quick?
Well, for the people that may not know where I am in terms of social media, that's at Coaching M. Smith on X now, formerly known as Twitter. I still call it Twitter sometimes, but X at Coaching M. Smith right there. Facebook, it's just my name, Stephen Smith, there on Facebook. I have a site there. It's Touchdown Alabama magazine, at touchdownalabama.com. That's touchdownalabama.com here. So what we're working on, spring practice has started. Tomorrow is the first practice for the media that we get tomorrow. So I will be out there. They're going to have us talk to the defensive guys. So that's Kane Womack. That's the defensive coordinator. The defense assistant coaches and players. So if you check your X tomorrow and you see just blitzes of video and pictures and stuff, just know Stephen's out there working again. So it's going to be several videos of Kane Womack and I having conversations about this 4-2-5 defense and other assistant coaches, players, and just trying to get as much content out there as possible. So I will be out there filling the airwaves with content.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much again for stopping by. Great. Thank you for all the comments, everybody. If I missed your comment, I definitely apologize. Once they got going,
it was so much,
hard to keep up with, but I love y'all. We'll be back as always next week. Steven, man, you're welcome anytime. We appreciate you stopping by, though, man.
Of course.
I appreciate you guys, man. This has been fun.
All right, guys. All right.
So much.
For Herbert Raj Podcast, we'll catch y'all next week, man. Until then, have a wonderful night and roll tide.
Roll tide.